Emails, messages, and documents from Rashida Tlaib's campaign have been released. As an ethics probe is being expanded by the Office for Congressional Ethics, it is being alleged that Rashida Tlaib may have broken federal law by requesting personal money from her campaign. Now, the campaign says this is legal, and the campaigns are allowed to pay the candidates if they're not taking standard work because they have to campaign. However, they concede that Rashida Tlaib was paid after she was elected, which is interesting, though they say it was for work done before she was elected. However, in messages released, it looks like Tlaib is saying, I need to pay off my debt. It's one thing if you need money for food, for rent. It's another thing if you're just trying to pay off debt and you want to use your campaign funds to do so. Now, the general argument we've heard from Ilhan Omar, from Rashida Tlaib, and Ocasio-Cortez is always, it was an accident. I didn't know it was an accident, but it just keeps happening. There have been, I think, a couple ethics complaints against Ocasio-Cortez, although I don't know where those have gone so far. Ilhan Omar was actually forced to pay a fine for improperly using campaign funds. Now, although it was a crime, no one really expects anything to come of, she used the funds. She took funds. She used them, I think, for her divorce. They told her she had to pay it back and pay a fine. So a lot of people were like, oh, she broke the law. Yeah, she did. And her penalty was a fine. Now we have this story about Rashida Tlaib. But here's the thing. This story's not coming from some conservative watchdog group that wants to file a complaint like we hear about Ocasio-Cortez, right? Back in March, conservative group hits AOC with ethics complaint, and it kept happening. And there may be real reasons to complain about what Ocasio-Cortez is doing. I will say it's kind of funny that the far left squad is being repeatedly hit with these complaints, and where there's smoke, there's fire. It's not always true, but hey, it's worth looking into. This is different. Rashida Tlaib is not being investigated by just some conservatives. This is the Office for Congressional Ethics. So let's check out the story from Fox News. They say, the House Ethics Committee on Thursday released a trove of striking internal campaign communications sent in 2018 by Michigan Democratic Rep. Rashida Tlaib, in which Tlaib urgently requested money from her congressional campaign to defray personal expenses, and a government watchdog said possibly violated federal law. Now, of course, there's going to be a watchdog, saying they think she may have violated the law, but it's the Office of Congressional Ethics expanding this probe. Check it out. The document dump was related to the committee's ongoing ethics probe into Tlaib, which the panel said on Thursday would be expanded based on a referral from the Office of Congressional Ethics. Additionally, the Ethics Committee acknowledged for the first time on Thursday an investigation into Florida Democratic Rep. Alcee Hastings concerning a personal relationship with an individual employed in his congressional office. Democrats, stop having adult relationships with your staff members. Come on. Apparently, there's like a bunch of documents pertaining to all these payouts that Congress has done because of their affairs. Maybe we'll see it at some point. Texts and emails released by the Ethics Committee show Tlaib frantically contacting members of her staff for financial help. Now, I want to stop real quick. I want to make sure we're careful, and that I think it's fair to say, if somebody is poor and wants to run for office, then I think it's fair that a campaign will pay them for their time. Otherwise, what are they supposed to do? Are we only supposed to allow rich people to run for office? No, we can't have that. At the same time, it should be legitimate. If I can't tell you in depth what is legal, and I'm not a lawyer, but it sounds to me when Tlaib says, I want to pay off my debt, that's kind of weird. And it doesn't sound like you need food. It doesn't sound like you need money for expenses. It sounds like you recognize your campaign raised a bunch of money and you're like, ooh, I can pay off my credit cards, right? Let's read. In one April 2018 email offered as an exhibit by OCE, Tlaib wrote that she was struggling financially right now and was sinking. She continued, so I was thinking the campaign could loan me money, but Ryan said that the committee could actually pay me. I was thinking a one-time payment of $5,000. And that might be legitimate, right, if they can argue it. In another email on April 4th, Tlaib wrote, I am just not going to make it through the campaign without a stipend. With a loss of a second income to lean back on, she wrote, I am requesting $2,000 per 2 weeks, but not exceeding $12,000. The cost of living stipend is going towards much needed expenses due to campaigning. That includes car maintenance, childcare, and other necessities. Please let me know if I can proceed. That sounds completely fair and legitimate and on the level. She's got kids. She's got car maintenance. I can respect that. Absolutely. Now, I don't know what the time frame is. She's asking for $1,000 a week, and she's got to take care of her necessities. And she even asked, can we do this? That's fair. In August of that year, Tlaib texted her future chief of staff, Ryan Anderson, at 6:38 a.m. Sorry for the early text, but do you think the campaign can still pay me a stipend until the general? Trying to get out of debt. Whoa, that's where things get a little muddy. I understand you may have used credit cards, you may have racked up debt because you didn't have money to do this, but there's a big difference between actually sorting out whether or not your campaign is going to be paying you and how you're going to be living. It's not our responsibility to pay for your life if you want to run for office. Like I said, I think it's fair if you're not going to work and your campaign pays you. But at the same time, if you're fundraising money off a campaign, mismanaging your funds, like, you know what, to an extent, you do have some responsibility in preparing yourself for, running for office. I think we definitely afford to do so, but we need to really clearly define your time and space, Anderson responded, noting that the arrangement could arouse concern among the media. Oh, and there it is. Uh-oh, she's taking money from her campaign. The OCE also attached scans of checks made out to Tlaib from her campaign, totaling thousands of dollars. Tlaib's lawyers said in August there was no evidence that she violated the law on purpose. On purpose, huh? Ignorance of the law is not an excuse for breaking it, or otherwise, and insisted there were no bad intentions. Notice they didn't say there's no evidence she violated the law. No, they said there's no evidence she violated the law on purpose or otherwise. What does that mean? They're playing games here. They noted that Federal Election Commission regulations permit campaigns to pay limited salary to candidates who curtail outside employment to focus on their campaigns. In certain limited conditions that lawyer said were met. In this instance. The attorneys went on to say that it was most irregular for OCE to call for a probe into a member of Congress based on pre-election activities and to argue that there was no conscious disregard for any law or regulation. Tlaib was paid by her campaign after Election Day, the attorneys conceded, but they asserted that the money was for services performed before Election Day. Okay, stop. I see their point. Why would the Office for Congressional Ethics be investigating something that happened when she wasn't even in office? She got paid after the fact. And now it's when she was in office, and you open the door for this. Tlaib's campaign committee said, and I want to stress, look, I'm looking at this and I'm saying like, okay, so she's trying to get money to pay off her debt. It's eye roll. What's she going to do? Pay a fine? But I'm gonna say, based on what we've heard about Ocasio-Cortez potentially funneling money to her boyfriend through this weird, thing they had where they had two different companies and then money was shifted around and then her boyfriend he got paid for 2 months and then moved to New York. It's very suspicious, but they didn't launch an investigation into that. I gotta say, I do not think the OCE or the House Ethics Committee just willy-nilly launches investigations. I think they have actual probable cause, and I think we're only getting a little bit of the picture. Keeping in mind, Ilhan Omar had to pay a fine. She did violate campaign finance law. They say that Tlaib's campaign committee, Rashida Tlaib for Congress, allegedly reported campaign disbursements that may not be... Whoa. Rashida Tlaib for Congress allegedly reported... This is from the OCE. Wow. They reported campaign disbursements that may not be legitimate and verifiable campaign expenditures attributed to bona fide campaign or political purposes, according to a release from OCE that unanimously recommended the Ethics Committee investigate Tlaib. And there it is. OCE said, it looks like there is probable cause that they were giving out money that had nothing to do with campaigning. If Tlaib converted campaign funds from Rashida Tlaib for Congress to personal use, or if Tlaib's campaign committee expended funds that were not attributed to bona fide campaign or political purposes, then Tlaib may have violated House rules, standards of conduct, and federal law. The OCE continued. That's what I was saying in the beginning. This is not just some conservative group. This is the Office for Congressional Ethics saying she may have violated federal law. Keep in mind as well, with Ilhan Omar, she made bulk payments to that Tim Minette guy, right? And there was concern that she broke the law because she didn't itemize those expenses. Where's the investigation? We're still waiting to see what comes of that. Rashida Tlaib, no, the House, the Ethics Office for Congressional Ethics is straight up saying she may have violated the law. Board recommends that the committee further review the above allegation concerning Rep. Tlaib because there is substantial reason to believe that Rep. Tlaib converted campaign funds from Rashida Tlaib for Congress to personal use for Rep. Tlaib's campaign committee. To personal use, or Rep. Tlaib's campaign committee expended funds that were not attributed to bona fide campaign or political purposes. The Ethics Committee first announced on August 16th that it had received a referral from the concerning Tlaib. From who? Meanwhile, the Ethics Committee also said it was looking into an alleged relationship between Hastings and a staffer. Okay, so this is a whole other issue. Democrats, what are you doing? Hastings has received, and whether Hastings had received any improper gifts, including any forbearance from that employee. Oh, so it looks like we got a bonus story here. What is this? So now coming off of Rep. Katie Hill, we got another Democrat who apparently had an improper relationship. That's 3. Okay, you had the dude from where was that guy from? Puerto Rico? I could be wrong. Or Guam? It was Guam, right? You had the non-voting rep, I forgot his name, who was accused of a relationship. You had Katie Hill, who resigned, and now you got Alcee Hastings, and you got Rashida Tlaib facing a probe for potentially violating federal law. Is that a hat trick? Oh, no, that's one more than a hat trick. Actually, no. Alcee Hastings, that's a hat trick. 3. So we got Katie Hill, we got the dude from Guam, and now we got Alcee Hastings. You nailed it, Democrats. Well, look, I have a feeling that whatever comes of Rashida Tlaib is going to be a slap on the wrist. It's a big club and you ain't in it, right? And I know that I'm not referring to the big global elites like, heads of corporation and heads of state, but she is in Congress. And I'll tell you what, man, there seems to be an aversion to do anything that would compromise in any way these politicians. Let me rephrase this. Rashida Tlaib is being investigated. It's going to be a slap on the wrist. You know why? Because they all do it, and they're all scared it'll happen to them. I shouldn't say they all do it, but people don't hold their own accountable, right? So I'm sure you got a bunch of other politicians, Republicans and Democrats going like, oh, geez, are they going to come for me next? It's also possible that these are outsiders. Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Ocasio-Cortez, Ayanna Pressley, they're outsiders. So, I mean, and they're high profile. They're a small faction in the Democrats, but they cause a lot of problems for the Democrats. It's entirely possible you're going to see some establishment Democrats saying, aim the cannons at them. So whether or not it's legit, we'll see. And I certainly think if this is the establishment trying to push out new candidates, that I would completely disagree with. But I'll tell you what, man, when you challenge the machine, be it a journalist or an outside candidate, they're going to come for you in every way possible. So the question now is, Ilhan, Tlaib, Omar, are they illegally using money? It's entirely possible. It's also entirely possible that there's a bunch of complicated rules that make it very difficult for new people to come in. So I'll tell you what, I'm absolutely open to the possibility that the establishment cronies, uber wealthy millionaire Democrats do not want these people in Congress and will stop at nothing to get rid of them because as we've seen from Nancy Pelosi, it's nothing but problems for them. Now Ocasio-Cortez is basically saying impeachment unifies the party. I gotta say, I'm actually leaning towards, I think you've got conservatives who don't like the far left because they're crazy far leftists causing us problems. But then you've also got crony Democrats who don't like them coming in and trying to disrupt the party, which essentially will essentially hand a win to Republicans. So, hey, man, remember the squad, you're fighting an uphill battle. And that means don't break the law in any way. And you might say it's not fair. Other people do. Yeah, other people might do it. But you know what? If you broke the law, you broke the law. We'll see what happens, though, because I'll say it bears repeating. Who's going to get in trouble over this? They're going to be like, you're found guilty, pay $75, and that'll be the end of it, right? Anyway, I'll leave it there. Stick around. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel, and I will see you all then.